Okay, so I think I'm going to start um, audio journals or reflections on my AGP, autogynephilia, and in a hopes and an efforts to understand it better, which is I've been doing that for ever since I discovered the term, but which was in my teens. I'm now 31, and it's really cumbersome in my life, and it's been a big, like, autogynephilia has been the source of a lot of self-hatred. Well, it itself has not been the source, but the way I felt towards having it has been the source. Um, so yeah, I identify as having autogynephilia. However, there's a lot of people saying it doesn't exist and stuff like that. I fully, as soon as the moment I read the description, I was probably, I don't know, maybe grade 9 or 10, because um, it was, I guess, so unsettling, this whole thing, and I knew it was off. So I was like, what the hell is this? And I don't know, I had the desire to be a I think I'm going off tangent here. um and maybe I'll make a video about, that's the goal of this channel, is to make a video, but to make a recording about different aspects that I've been dealing with. um yeah, I wish I never really journaled ever, until only like a couple years ago, and I started a little Google Docs AGP journal. That was actually, it wasn't quite an AGP journal. It was almost linked to like a semen retention journal, which every time I would talk about, like, like, I don't like the word no fap. Every time I talk about semen retention on there, um, I would also obviously connect it with my sexuality and AGP, which that's the sexuality I currently identify with, or makes the most sense that I have. Um, anyway, so the goal of these recordings is reflections, and it's going to be AGP linked with SR, semen retention. So it's I'm curious if uh, semen retention will bring about more clarity about AGP in my life and how I can navigate it. And ultimately, I'd really like to find a healthy way to integrate it, because I've been using masturbation my whole life to basically um, act out the urges in a fantasy way. So obviously, in my youth and college and stuff, I was masturbating a lot, and I was masturbating to things like female pornography and cross dressers and drag queens that I thought looked extremely feminine. So basically, anyone that looked very feminine who was either a male to female trans person or a cross dresser. And obviously the fantasies were about me doing that. So yeah, so if I could find like YouTube, like it'd be like the things like YouTube videos of someone cross-dressing and looking extremely alluring as a woman, would just, like, that would, stuff like that would just get me going. So um and that was it. That, like, I didn't really explore any other avenues. I'm like, this is what gets me, like the most riled up, the most aroused. So yeah, so I I would do that, and then after, I could just go about my day, and, like, life would just resume as normal. Like, I would get rid of the urge, and um, and then I would continue, yeah, just being me and stuff. I carried a ton of shame about it, um, a ton of so much insecurity about the whole thing. Um, yes, and I think in my mid 20s, I was like really, really thinking about transition as a possibility. Um, and I think I think transition for me now is off the table, as it were. And personally, I feel like if I had totally different circumstances in my life, I would probably have um, done maybe HRT, and I don't think I would have gotten rid of. See, the thing is, I don't feel I have gender dysphoria, or maybe I have very repressed gender dysphoria, um, because, for example, when I watch female porn, I do find it attractive that it's like you see like the genitals and stuff like that, um, and of like the male genitals on like a very feminine figure. So to me, I think that there's something I'm very attracted to the transformation more than, I mean, the final result is very important, but the fact that um, a male has managed to transform themselves into a female, so that's always been the most alluring part, rather than like something about like a male to female with uh, bottom surgery that doesn't like that's like that doesn't do anything for me at all, zero. So um yeah, anyway, so the point of this, and I think I wrote it in my journal here, my biggest question is how can AGP be transmuted to a healthy output of energy towards art or relationships rather than coping with, self-pleasure as a form of escaping from the isolation it induces. Okay, so that's why it's good to have this journal here, which I only started writing in 2019. And again, it was mainly a semen retention journal, but then it slowly became an AGP. It's like a mix of both. Yeah, so that's the biggest question is how to transmute the sexuality, or rather, I think both words work well for me actually, either to transmute the sexuality or to integrate it, or to reabsorb it, as it were. I'm not sure. Um, so my modality of exploration is going to be semen retention, or people call it nofap. And I don't know. I really want to aim for. I've already done, and I will talk about another video, another recording. Um, I've done 92 days. That's the longest, or 93 days. I can't remember, of semen retention, and that was about 2 years ago. And it's been there's chickens nearby. I lost my train of thought. These chickens, they always distract me. Yeah, so I'd like to do another long streak and really pay attention to the urges that come up, and reflect upon them. And again, like a healthy way to integrate my autogynephilia, which I haven't really figured it out. Um, I've tried cross dressing once, and yeah, and it didn't really. It was kind of strange because I would do all the stuff, and then I'm not a very feminine person. Yeah, it's, I guess I'll get in. Uh, I'll talk about that in other recordings and stuff. But yeah, I just wasn't. I didn't look hot at all as a as a girl, or feminized. And the whole process of shaving my body, and I guess putting on makeup and getting rid of the 5 o'clock shadow with all the stuff, I like watched YouTube tutorials on how to get rid of that. Because I have fairly, even when I like fully shave my beard, it's kind of like you can't fully get rid of it, kind of thing. You have to kind of hide it, and then even like doing the eyebrows so they're more feminine and stuff like that. It was a lot of work, and it just like doesn't interest me to do that. Um, and yeah. Oh, and on another note, and maybe I will talk about another recording. I guess growing up, I had a bit of dysphoria around my nose because I thought my nose was of my face was the most masculine, the most unfeminine part of my face. So I had this severe dysphoria around my nose, where I even vocalized it to friends. I'm like, oh, I hate my nose. I almost like want to get plastic surgery for my nose. But I would say that um, in case I ever did get it, to be like a reason, because I was just hating my nose. But really, the reason was I felt that if I was to, that's why I never, as a teenager or anything, never tried it, cross dressing, because I was like, my nose is way too ugly, and it's just not a feminine nose. And now I don't care. I've come into a place of a lot of self acceptance and self. I'm still working on self love, but yeah. Anyway, I'm going to touch on a lot of stuff that I talked about just in this introduction, in separate recordings. But the main thing is I want to find clarity, how to integrate, how to transmute the sexuality, how to understand it better. That's what I really want to understand it. That's what I get hung up on quite a bit. Um, um, and yeah, I think HRT is off the table for me. I thought about before microdosing estrogen, but I don't know. For me, I find it hard to get a hold of it. So I don't know if that's even a thing that anyone's experimented with. But now my approach is to do semen retention, and to see how long term. And I have been doing it. I go on 20-day, I go on 30-day stints. Um, and then the issue is, as soon as I finish a 30-day stint, I'm just like, I binge for several days in a row. Then I go back on, like, say 12 days, then stop. Then usually, usually I get to around 8 days. It's like every 8 days I do it. Um, so I want to go a bit longer, and I'm really hoping to find clarity. Yeah, clarity around this thing, and it's because it's, yeah, definitely I feel it interferes with my life. I feel I'm in a place of a lot of self acceptance now, that it isn't as detrimental as it was in my mid 20s, and that was because of all the self loathing that was placed around it. And one of the biggest factors, and maybe this is why I don't want to resent my parents, because they don't really, but um, it's funny. They're like, yeah, my dad is pretty conservative and stuff like that, and I always had the fear that if I did something like this, transitioned, um, and presented as female, that I would be disowned. So um, yeah, so it's a funny thing that when I was younger and I moved out to a different part of the country, and I was living there, and I think that's when I was getting more serious thoughts of AGP, of transition. And to a degree, I was actually free to live there and do that, but fear of rejection came from the roommates I was living with, who I really valued as friends, but I didn't think that they would be accepting of this. And in reality, I think they would have been. It would have been maybe a little. I guess I was just worried back then about making people uncomfortable and all this stuff, and it really impeded me from exploring. And I just wish I had more of the security and more of the acceptance of myself that I have now in my mid 20s. Um, but I guess everything comes at different times in life and stuff. So again, right now I'm 31, and I'm also balding. So I just don't want to, like, that's why HRT is kind of off the table. I don't want to, like, balding to the point where it's like male pattern baldness. Like I am like uh, bald basically basically. So just like 100% bald, like full on, no hair is growing up there. Yeah, so if I want to do HRT and present as a woman, I would need to wear a wig every time, and it's just, and yeah, I don't know, it's just a lot. It's like, if I'm gonna do it, I want to, like, look as feminine as possible. I don't want to be some in between thing, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe microdosing estrogen might work. Who knows? Maybe that might be the substance for me to help me um, be at more peace, because that's really what I'm searching for. I'm searching for peace. That's the ultimate goal for me. I want to be at peace. I very much struggle with. Um, I don't struggle with intimacy when I have a partner. I just struggle with having a partner. I'm also not the like. I'm also like 5'5", and so very short male. And yeah, it kind of sucks that if I was a lot more feminine presenting, if my face was more feminine and stuff, I would totally probably femboy cross dress, maybe even HRT kind of thing. But it sucks that I'm just like, I'm neither really an attractive male or an attractive female. So I'm just like, shit. I want to find a way to find peace around all of this. That's really I'm searching for, and I'm using semen retention as a modality to, rather than to just, you know self pleasure, is to, like, I use it to basically alleviate the onset of these AGP fantasies. So I kind of want to sit with them and see if this approach reveals anything. That's really what it is.